Our Living Church, the ELC, coming to Charlotte on our launch of our new church on Sunday, September 13th. But tonight we want to continue in a series that is produced by Empower Living TV. It is Leadership Talks. It's a replay this past Sunday, but we thought it was appropriate. It was for Father's Day. We thought it was appropriate to share with you on today, Tuesday. So I'm live, but we're going to do a pre-recorded session for you. It's amazing conversation that we had with these great pastors from some leading pastors in this community, and it's appropriate. I want to say that's in the community, but in America, I think it's appropriate for us to do it now because the topic is heavy. Being a father today is challenging. So we asked a group of pastors, as a pastors round, what's it like to respond to your children, to your parishioners, to others in the community as you lead, as you see black men being murdered on a regular basis on social media or television or wherever. How does one respond as a pastor? How does one respond as a father? How does one respond as a black man? How does one continue to build relationships in the body of Christ when you're dealing with the images that we're seeing, that our children are seeing, that our loved ones, our spouses are viewing? How do we respond to that? And so we want to really dig deep into that and hear truths. Yes, real conversation without it being held back, some realities. And so I want you to join us for this conversation and come back again Friday evening at 8 o'clock for our next leadership talk with Torian Sitton. And then Sunday we'll have a very special conversation with some other leaders within America. All right. Again, this is Pastor Barrett of the Empower Living Church. For more information, go to, you see above me right there, leadershiptalks.io. All right, let's get started. Don't go. Oh, share this video, like it, share it, and please start a watch party now. All right. God bless. Hey, family, this is Pastor Barrett of the Empower Living Church, the ELC, coming to Well, I hope you enjoyed that Leadership Talks with those wonderful pastors. Gentlemen, hey, family, we're live. So thank you for joining us this afternoon, this evening. Gentlemen, if you could please go ahead and start a watch party. Share us. Everybody out there in America, share us. Share right now. This is one of the most important conversations of this week as we celebrate Father's Day. So we invite you to share and to like this and start a watch party as we get into a discussion today with three brilliant leaders here in our community. They're pastors. Each of them are pastors in their own right, and they're doing some amazing work here in America. And I think it's appropriate for us as we celebrate Father's Day to engage in dialogue of what it's like being a father. I'm Pastor Barrett of the Empower Living Church, and I'm going to introduce my gentlemen as they go around. We have Eric Williams. We like to call him E-Will. He's from Life Turning Point Ministries here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we're blessed to have Pastor Mitchell Blue. He's also a church planter and pastor and founder of Uncommon Church here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we have the good Dr. Robert O'Neill. He's pastor. I put that in there for you, Robert. I'm adding you up there, boy. It's Shepherd's Way Christian Church in Zebulon, North Carolina. I'm excited to have each and every one of you here today. And so I want to invite you all, too, to share and to like and start watch parties as well where you are. And let's go ahead and just get started here and have an opening statement. Just, Also, a church planter and pastor. Okay, all right. I hear myself, too. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started with Eric. Just open us up, man, and tell us what's it like being a pastor and father during the season of protesting.
Well, in this season, it's very interesting. I don't know if we want to call it a season, but during this time, it's interesting because, I have young men, and raising these young men, they're asking me, although we live in a primarily white neighborhood, they're asking me about racism. Daddy, does white people hate black people? Why is that? Is it safe for me to go outside? Is it safe for me to ride my bike? And it's different because as a man, as a father, I want to protect them, and they're asking me questions I really don't have the answer for in this time. More so than, kind of leading them to and encourage them to stay in the backyard. So it's really challenging in this time when you have young men and young children who really are at the age that they don't quite comprehend racism and color at this point, and they ask you those questions along
Right.
with the coronavirus happening.
At the same time. At the
At
exact
the
same time.
same time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I take it to you, Mitchell Blue.
Yeah, man.
What's
So
it like being a pastor and father right now?
it's definitely a unique challenge. I like to akin it to a tale of two cities, man. It's the best of times and the worst of times all at the same time. And it definitely forces us to be ambidextrous and very creative in how we minister. But then, too, as Pastor Williams mentioned, trying to answer questions for young people that really sometimes don't want to hear our answers. They just want to express their anger, and they want to, they just want to touch some stuff, for lack of a better term. So it's trying to get them to understand that though you are frustrated, though you are angry, no one's actually telling you that you can't be angry. But let's try to find a way to positively channel that anger. How do we get real results, and how do we target tangible results that we can push forward, versus just taking our energies out on objects, things, and other people.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I'm going to get you started too, Robert. Go ahead and answer the question. Before we can start, Robert, we're joined by the good pastor, church planter, and pastor of Metro Church of Christ here in Charlotte, North Carolina. The good man here, his name, so I can say it for everybody so you can see it, Roosevelt Moss, Pastor Roosevelt Moss, my good friend. So the question, Robert, and come back to you after that, Brother Roosevelt, to answer the question. What's it like being the pastor during this time?
Oh man, it pandemic, and then what's going on with race and things we've seen. It's been difficult. It's been difficult not seeing the people, reaching out to our people, trying to make sure I'm answering their questions. We've been having this conversation, this dialogue for a little while now, but each time it hits, I get a few calls, but for the most part, trying to keep us together and engaged in the conversation is difficult, but we're doing it. We're trying to keep it going. I mean, as far as being a father, my kids are not aware, man. I'm just being honest with you. They're 5
How
and
old are
9. 5 and 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we're guarding them with the media, social media, that kind of thing. So, as they have a few questions, I'm able to explain what's necessary at this time.
Right. Roosevelt, how about you, brother?
Oh man, as my brother Brother Blue mentioned, it's a tale of two cities, man. It's positive, it's awesome on one end, and it is extremely difficult to be a pastor and father on the other end. My kids, being a pastor first, I'll say it's probably been the hardest season of my ministry. I've been in ministry for I've been in ministry full time for a little over 12 years, and
Wow.
this has been the most difficult time that I've had to pastor during this kind of a season. And being a father has been challenging. I don't know if many of you probably don't know, I have two kids. Both are 13 right now. One's 14. One is 13. One's 14. But I have a special needs son, and I have a daughter who's going into high school, and just trying to find the balance of helping her to see clearly. One of the things that I don't want to do with my daughter is tell her what to think and tell her what to say and tell her what to do all the time. I want to give her tools to teach her how to think for herself and how to come to the right conclusions. And it's a little difficult because we have to have hard conversations at this age. I was hoping my parents had it with me, but I was hoping I wouldn't have to have it with my kids.
Right.
But I'm having to have those conversations, and so it's a blessing to spend all this extra time with my kids. But
And process it myself, because I don't want to talk too much and
Those in authority. So if you have somebody at a church and the pastor is not reflecting of your same hue, how do you feel about that? I mean help me out.
Yeah. Well, for me, as a black man, I attended a church that had a Caucasian, a white pastor, and it was difficult because he could not identify with my struggle. So how could he preach to me and build me up if he knew nothing about my life? And so
Right,
that's
right,
the
right.
challenge I see. The question I have for people today: how can you serve under a white man that doesn't know your struggle, your challenge that you face, hasn't been through that? I mean, he can tell you to pray about it, but the old mother told me, son, you get on your knees and you pray, but you get on your feet and you go do some work.
Yeah.
So
Right,
after you
right.
finish praying for me, I need to go do something. You can't protest with me. You can't really speak to my situation because you really know nothing about the skin I'm in. So it's very difficult. And I believe they're amazing white men of God, but I believe that it's difficult for me to serve under a white pastor and knowing in this season that we are disconnected in that, especially if they're not speaking up right now in
Mhm.
for our benefit.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Somebody else want to jump on that?
Yeah.
Roosevelt, go ahead. When you took your breath, speak on it. Don't hold back. Let it rip.
No,
I
this is
think it
going
needs
out to people
more.
all over the globe, and so I don't want to say something in case y'all might want to
Right.
run for office at a later date.
Don't worry about
Uh,
me. Don't worry about
Man,
me.
the truth shall
Go
set
ahead,
y'all
man. I
free.
just
uh,
speak truth. All you do is speak truth.
Yeah.
I'll just say I'll say this that part of what Pastor Andy said, and I've communicated with you how, and I've told my own personal brother,
Mm-hmm.
I don't. It ain't time. I haven't. I'm just getting to the point where I'm open to having a conversation with that kind of conversation with a white person about that kind of topic.
Mm-hmm.
About their own racism in an open form like that. It took a while. My anger was so you know uncontrollable that I just wasn't prepared. I just couldn't handle it. I just couldn't handle it. But I finally got to the point where it's no longer anger. It's well, it's still a lot of anger there. I ain't gonna lie, it's still a lot of anger there. But to
Right.
get to get to your question, I still to this point don't understand how an African American person, man or woman,
Mm-hmm.
can sit under a white pastor when there is a quality black pastor in their area. I don't. To me, there's not a reason that you could give me
Mm-hmm.
um, that would suffice or outweigh all of the other reasons as to why you should be over there supporting the black pastor. Now, here's part of my frustration
Go
is
ahead.
I've come to understand that many white people are just flat out racist.
Mm-hmm.
Especially some of our older white people are just flat out racist. But it has been so it's in them so deep that they don't even see it, that they don't even know it,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes out. But that's all they know. Like all they've known was that whites are better than blacks. Like they grew up in everything around them from their childhood all through their adulthood. They've
Mm-hmm.
seen us as less than, and so it's almost to a point. Now I'm not wiping the slate clean because once you become an adult, hey, listen, you got to give an account of how you of your actions, but it's in them so much. And
Right.
what frustrates me the most is it took George Floyd being killed like that for them to even be willing to have the conversation.
Yes.
And then when we have the conversation, you say some stuff like you don't like the word privilege, that you'd rather use the word blessing. That's the conversation that you want to have.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to have that conversation because I'm still trying to maintain my Christianity in the midst of all of this chaos. And that kind of stuff, I couldn't have been Lecrae sitting at that table nodding my head, and I couldn't have that couldn't have been me because whether we was on national TV or whatever, that just could not have been me. I just couldn't have been me. But uh, but for the person who attends a white church, I don't get it. I just don't understand. Like my brother mentioned, they can't identify. They just can't do it. And you look at the leadership. Too often the conversation even now is only being had. And I have a PR specialist friend who lives in Raleigh. We were talking about this the other day. Even all of these companies who are coming out with all this Black Lives Matter. I was watching a movie on Freeform the other day, and I mean, every 10 seconds in the lower third was something about Juneteenth and Black Lives Matter and all of this and that. And I'm like, yo, miss me with that right now, because this has been going on for so long. And I understand everybody who's saying we're making progress and all of that. But listen, I'm not beyond, but I'm not interested in having a conversation that's not going to lead to actual change. I'm not interested in trying to help talk you through a situation that at the end of the conversation, you're just going to say, well, you know what? I'm sorry. That's not really enough at this point, because the laws have not changed. Now, once some laws change, once some policies are changed, once you have just as many Black elders and deacons at your church, and your board is an actual reflection of your membership, once you as a white pastor is willing to say, you know what? I'll give you an example. And I'm sorry, I'm probably rambling a little bit. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago.
We'll give you one more minute. We'll give you one more minute.
All right, a couple of years ago. I told you, I can get on.
You fired up. It's okay.
White guy, great guy, really good guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but I had a pastor friend of mine, really good guy. They wanted to try to start to build this whole unity thing in Charlotte of Black and white churches. When we get to heaven, it's not going to be this race or that race. And I said, you're right. Right. All right. Yeah. But they wanted to do some event on a Sunday. And here's what was proposed. What was proposed was that we shut our service down, not have a morning service, and go over to their church, and I would preach, and our worship team would sing.
Oh wow!
And that's you say oh wow, but we've been singing and dancing for their Lord have mercy. I said you're gonna make me go there.
But you said you was gonna preach though. That's the first time I heard him say you're gonna preach. Normally they don't get to preach.
Dancing for their entertainment. We've been singing and dancing for their entertainment for a long time. But anyway, and what I explained to him, I said, "Why, brother? I can't do that." I said, "We're on to something. I don't want to just not have service all day, for this effort." I said, I wouldn't mind. I said maybe I could come by myself and my service still go on, or maybe we can have it later. Or better yet, why don't you shut your service down? Come over with us. If it's about unity, let's talk about it.
What was his response?
You already know what the response was. We never had a conversation about it after that. And here's what I'm saying all that to say. It has never, the talk about unity and coming together and having a conversation, we're always having to go to them. When the real change is when they're willing to come to us. When will their members, Pastor Andy talked about this the other day, he got one of the fastest growing churches in America, and it's all Black. And you can't tell me there's not high level
10,000 members.
You can't tell me that the worship team ain't on point. You can't tell me the preaching ain't on point. You can't tell me that he doesn't fit all of those, and that's why you can't go there. No, the devil is a lie. If you really want to talk about unity, then you would say, you know what? We need to be willing to sit under some Black leadership and some Black authority. And stop acting like our ice is a little colder.
Yeah. Well, they are from the north. But Robert, so
hey, brother, 32 degrees. 32 degrees.
Robert, what? On that note, man, your response. Any response to that? You heard Pastor Andy's conversation.
Yeah, man, I heard it, Doc. He said some real impactful statements that I thought were really profound.
So what's your take on it, though? What's your take on it? I mean, how do you feel as a pastor now in this season, and the racist comments that these white pastors who were filled up with, I'm telling you, Rob Parsley is 50%, if not 70% Black, right?
Yeah,
and making racist statements, and we still going to the church,
right. So people need to decide what they want to do. They heard what they heard. And they need to decide what they're going to do. I'm on the ground level. I'm not near Rod Parsley's level or Pastor Andy's level as it relates to saying.
How many white folks at your church?
I don't have any white people in my church.
Oh, okay.
I haven't. It's not like I've solicited either. But here's what I have been doing for the last several years. We've been creating conversations about race and trying to engage that dialogue. And now that things have moved the way they have, then the conversations are profitable, even more profitable. So I'm working at the same time. I tell anybody, yo, you got to decide. I was just talking to an African-American woman who attends a predominantly white church, and she's not leaving. She has no, the pastor's white. They have a lot of Caucasian leadership. She's solid. She has relationships. She enjoys the word. Yo, I'm not going to tell somebody to leave their church if that's where they feel. The other piece of it is, besides being black, they feel there's a call there to serve it. Who am I? So I get that. I let people do my job as a leader in my area, is to promote unity. And my church will tell you, I've been pushing for that for several years, trying to get us all to the table. And it's been happening very small in segments, but now I'm having profitable conversations. I've preached in white platforms. I've come to their services. They've tried to come to connect with me, but my church is too small. And we're trying to have community revivals and things of that nature. So I'm like this, man. Let's do it, right? Let's support each other. Let's be black. Let's do all that. But at the same time, I'm really open for dialogue, because if I'm not talking,
Robert, we're always open for dialogue. It's never not been open for dialogue.
Never been a question.
It's never been the case. That's not a courageous statement. That's like saying, we've always been open to dialogue, but can we have the dialogue at our place? Mitchell, what do you think?
No,
let me say this. I had the dialogue about place. Again, I don't like to speak in generalities. I know what I'm doing. I can only speak from my context. Right. So when President Trump was voting in, and my church, my African Americans, we couldn't understand why some of our comrades were so gung-ho about his language and trying to make him a Christian and all this kind of jazz. A pastor friend of